We don't have a quorum. All right. Good evening. This is the Farragut Board Mayor and Alderman meeting for May 11th, 2017. We'll start by rising for a moment of silent prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
In the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is the approval of the agenda.
Do we have any changes? Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next is Citizens Forum.
Mayor's report.
Oh, Mayor's report. I still can't read, can I? Under Mayor's report, it's first item is Farragut Freedom Run. Who's taking that?
Not here, Sue? Mayor, I guess we'll skip the Farragut Freedom Run tonight, and maybe our speaker will come next meeting for that.
All right. When is that going to be?
Go ahead.
It's July 4th, the morning of the parade, right before the parade starts. They start at Town Hall, correct? And
Right, yeah.
head on up the parade route to Ingalls.
So
Well,
we
time
got
on
a
it.
lot of time for people to show up, right? The next item under that is Education Relations Committee. Do we have somebody there?
I'm Kristen Trent from the Education Relations Committee, and you have a memo in your packets about an item that we would like to bring to your attention. Since 2009, our committee has been charged with being a liaison between the 5 schools that the town of Farragut serves and BOMA. Tonight, we would like for you to respectfully consider a proposal to award outstanding educators whom have already been named as Knox County Teachers of the Year in our 5 schools with a monetary award of $500 each. We're asking for a total not to exceed $10,000. It should take approximately $8,500 each year. In 2016 and in 2017, 17 teachers were selected. That number varies by student enrollment per school, so we would like to build in a little bit of a cushion there. We would like for these recipients to be presented a check by the board and the mayor in a spring meeting beginning in 2018. And we realize that the town of Farragut has always set such a high precedent of supporting our schools, a fact that administrators and parents and teachers recognize. And this is just another way for us to honor those educators who have poured into the lives of our children.
Sounds good to me.
Do they?
Questions?
Yes. Do they receive the Teachers of the Year when Knox County selects them? Do they receive anything from Knox County?
That I'm not certain. I know that they have an awards banquet, but I'm not certain what other incentives they are given at that banquet.
I'm going to play devil's advocate for this, because the first thing I thought about when I value education. Anyone that knows me knows how much the teachers mean to me. But I understand that every year teachers spend so much money of their own money on classroom needs. And I'm wondering if instead of just choosing out the ones, and especially if they've received some kind of recognition or money from Knox County, is there a better way to help the classrooms I guess that's what I'm struggling with, is I think I'd rather see that money spent on classroom needs that are, we know are going to be going towards what the kids need in those classrooms. So, any thoughts from anyone else?
So instead of giving it to an individual person, spread it amongst all the classrooms? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, or.
To that program?
Yeah, some kind of lottery system, or, I don't know how the excellent educators sometimes are picked. Is it a political situation, or, and I'm probably going to get a teacher's going to call me up and just give me heck for saying that, and I'm sorry. My concern is that I had I'll put it this way. One of the teachers I look back on in my lifetime, I hated her when I had her, but I look back on the education she gave me and I realized what a great teacher she was. And I'm not sure that she was going to win any awards, but that's kind of what I'm concerned about. Are we missing something by highlighting the teachers that have already been highlighted and not going for classroom needs? I think this is something we should talk about as
Agreed.
part of the bigger program about how we're funding our schools, because we've just had that discussion in the back, and how we want to go forward, what we would like to see through our Education Relations Committee.
I've got a question. In these 4 schools, how many teachers are there? Does anybody have a number?
I could get that number for you.
I think we need to know how many teachers there are.
So there's about 100 teachers at Farragut High School, so it goes down from there. I think that's.
And if I may add another comment, this is an issue that our committee has worked on for several years, and it started as how can we recognize all teachers? And then we decided, how can we recognize outstanding teachers? And we toyed with the idea of developing our own award. We looked at different criteria, and then we decided that process might be a little complex, and it might be better just to piggyback on something that was already established.
You know what? I would love to speak with Susan Horn about how they determine their Teachers of the Year through the.
Can you get back with us on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we table this for next meeting?
I'm sorry, Kristen.
Okay,
I'm
no.
just.
Well, this is really
This is great discussion.
This is really a discussion for the budget process, and
Okay.
it's their request of the board to do something. So if the board determines during the next couple of weeks or early month that you'd like to do something different or have the education committee go back and look at something else, then you can certainly
Okay.
ask them to do that.
Okay.
You get back with us when you talk
Yes.
with Susan? Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mayor, we actually we did have our speaker for the Farragut Freedom Run arrive. If the mayor and the board would like to go back to that item.
Okay.
Sounds
Go
good.
back to that then.
Sorry, I'm late. I really apologize for that. I didn't know the order. It's my first time doing anything like this. So,
Would you state your name and your
Yes.
home address, please?
okay. My name is Alyssa Hill. My address is 2500 Echo Brook Lane, Knoxville, Tennessee. 37934. If you need that.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the Farragut Freedom
Yeah.
Run?
So this is our second annual race. It goes in front of the Farragut Parade on 4th of July. We have just a 1 mile and 2 mile race. So it's short. It's just able to kind of get people out there. If they're already there for the parade, they can stay after and continue to watch the parade. Last year we're working on getting, or this year we're working on getting the 2 mile course certified to be state record eligible. So if you run it, and there's not a lot of state records for your actual age, not just age group, and so that could be a big draw for people. And then also this year our 1 mile race is part of the RRCA, which is Roadrunners Club of America state championship race too. So people will be able to kind of be a part of that before the parade. So that's just a little bit about that.
Sounds good. What do you need from us?
I don't,
There They've gone through the special events
Yes.
permit. And,
Okay, thank you.
Yes, so they've gone through the whole process and ironed out a few issues they had from last year. I think you guys are putting bicyclists on the front so you can get, because a lot of people are crossing the street as racers are trying to come through. So I know that it's a work in progress, but I think it adds something
Right.
exciting to the day, and it's a nice addition to. The streets are already closed down. It's a perfect time to take advantage of that.
Yes,
So
definitely. I do, at the event meeting, we didn't have our insurance, but we do have a copy of our insurance as well, so I guess I would
Sue's
get
back
that to
there.
Sue.
Yeah.
And then, yes, kind of working out the kinks of getting the bike set up, also working on possibly, because last year we had the setup of the race, like here at the town hall, where people could get their packets, use the restrooms and that sort of thing. But we're working on looking at moving that a little bit to maybe one of these places on Campbell Station to where they won't have to go as far into here, and just making it a little bit more convenient for them as well.
okay.
Do you think being able to run a 10-minute mile would set any kind of race records across the state?
You never know. You never know. Honestly, because the records are for each age. So I mean, I know for my age last year, the 2-mile race, the record I was like, oh, that's completely doable. So it completely depends. You never know. It just depends.
Forward to.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Did you all have any questions or need anything from us too about the race?
I have no further questions.
No questions.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, I
you.
apologize for the inconvenience there. Thank you, though.
Citizen.
Citizens Forum,
We have one speaker tonight. It's Bob Hill.
all right.
Good evening. I'm Robert Hill, 11504 Mountain View Road, Farragut, Tennessee, 37934. Monday night I went to a meeting down at St. George Greek Orthodox Church regarding B&B and the Airbnb. And it was a series of meetings that the city has been having in each councilmanic district about the Airbnb issue, which they're about to adopt an ordinance on. It came up before the MPC today, and my guess is that it passed, but I don't know that because I wasn't there. But there are 300 rooms already under Airbnb in the city of Knoxville, unlicensed, unregulated, presumably occupied at times. There's a concern among the residents there that people are buying empty houses to make Airbnb houses out of them in residential districts. When the city of Knoxville passes that ordinance, and they probably will pass it in some form because it's a program that's ongoing right now with Airbnb. The next stop for that sort of thing is going to be Farragut. And I think it's time for the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and the Planning Commission to think how they're going to deal with that particular issue, because the issue really is, as one lady succinctly put it, you're running a business in a residential area. And that's pure and simple the way it is. And I visualize Farragut as being an ideal spot to start that. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that, and y'all can think about that and agonize over it. Thanks a lot.
Well, before you
And
leave,
that shelter thing till next year.
I've heard about this, but I don't know yet what it's talking about. What is Airbnb?
Airbnb is a very successful corporation, billion-dollar corporation now, operating currently all over the world. And they provide a platform for letting homeowners rent out the rooms in their houses for temporary occupancy when they're on trips and things of that sort.
Football
So essentially,
games.
you literally, in this case, in the city of Knoxville, they will be making the whole city a dispersed motel or hotel. And it bothers me really a lot that the other part of that issue is that there's some very nice hotels in Knoxville now. There's a lot of money involved in that, in building them. They're now running it at an occupancy of about 60%. And right now, in the city of Knoxville, there's an additional 300 rooms operating as a hotel in direct competition to the businesses that are there. So I just know that it's a very prolific thing, and all cities and towns that I know of are tussling with the issue.
We already have 2 in town.
And I'm sure if you look up Airbnb in Farragut, Tennessee, you'll find a user. So that's the issue, Mayor.
Well, thanks for bringing that up. I think it's something we need to look at.
I might say that my feeling is that the city's draft ordinance is very weak. It's almost put in place just to say you have one.
I think they're permitting owner-occupied rentals, is my understanding. The legislature just tried to, but decided to, I guess, put it off till next year.
Yeah, I think it was shelved today.
They were going to prevent the 4 major cities from putting into putting in any kind of ordinance into place that would ban them.
Yeah, that failed.
That
And
failed. Well,
it-
I think it got tabled, not failed. It'll come back up next session.
And we ought to tell our state representative that he should be adamantly opposed to that, because it's a power grab on the state level of local authority.
Yep.
And don't let it happen.
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
We see that a lot. Thanks. Next item is the approval of minutes from April 27th.
Reviewed the minutes and everything appears to be in order. I move for approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We move to business items, and the first is approval of event application for the Knoxville Track Club's Farragut 13-1/2. I guess that's what it's called, marathon for 5 kids run, so forth.
Okay, this is basically the same event that's come before you the past 3 years. This will be the 4th year in Farragut. This particular event will be the 5K and half marathon like it's been in the past. It'll be the last Saturday in October 28th. They have actually made some pretty substantial changes to part of the route, which from the staff's perspective I think are all good changes. Instead of starting and finishing at the high school, they are actually starting and finishing at the old Kroger parking lot. And I'll talk about how I think that's a good thing. There's several reasons why I think that's a good thing. So basically, for both the 5K and the half marathon, they'll be starting there. The runners will cross Kingston Pike and go up to the high school property, then come back down to Campbell Station Road. And then they'll run along Campbell Station Road into Village Green at Old Colony Parkway. Then the 5K runners will continue into Village Green and turn around at North Monticello and Briar Creek and return back the same way they came. The half marathon participants will continue on through Village Green into Fox Den to Smith Road, and then they'll come down south on the Smith Road to Kingston Pike, and basically from that point, other than the finish, the route will be the same as it's been in previous years. That gets the runners off of Kingston Pike more, which is a more pleasurable experience than running along Kingston Pike. So they're limiting how much time you're going to be on Kingston Pike. If you're as slow a runner as I am, you'd be on the roads for a long time, no matter which route you go. But anyway, the same as in previous years, they still have the same number of aid stations. They're starting early, like they did last year. They're cutting off the course in 3.5 hours. I think that's what it was last year, to try to limit that impact to the road systems that would be affected. Due to the course changes, of course, we'll have to have notifications to some different entities this year than what we've had in the past. They are providing a lot of public outreach in different forms of media, the same as they've done in the past. I think there's going to have to be a little bit more interaction, for example, this year with Village Green and Fox Den, because they weren't as impacted, and Fox Den wasn't really at all in the past, so they'll have to have a little bit more engagement with them. Let's see, what else here? There won't be any markings on the streets. We had issues in the past, not necessarily with KTC, but with some other entities. They're going to be using staff and signage for wayfinding to get through the course. And basically, when you finish the course, by the fact that it'll finish at the old Kroger parking lot, we're avoiding that last crossing of Kingston Pike that created a lot of complaints in the past, because some of the runners might be up to 3 hours before they get to that last crossing, so traffic is impacted for a pretty significant time period. And that also allows them to do some other things, because they're not on school property, that they can do in a private parking lot. So that might add a little festivity to the event. Anyway, I, again, as I did last year, commend the KTC for coming back to the town, trying to listen to the public's input that I think improved their route substantially. This is, I think, their second most popular event behind the Knoxville Marathon. It gets a really, a lot of participants, a lot of quality runners. It's consistent with our strategic plan and our pedestrian and bicycle plan, trying to encourage these kind of events to come to the town. So with that, I think if you have any specific questions, Karen Tyndall's here, and she can probably answer those better than I could.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the event application for the Knoxville Track Club's Farragut 13.1 half marathon and 5K kids run.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Say aye.
Can we have some discussion?
Oh, sure. We need it?
Oh, well, mostly to approve. I've noticed that you've changed the water stops, and now the Anytime Fitness water stop is now the second stop, so I won't have a large torrent of runners showing up in the course of 5 minutes.
You'll have your cups, though,
Yes,
this
I
year.
have my cup.
Yeah, you
my
will be the
cups.
second water stop
Yeah.
this year, and we appreciate your support.
Now, you live in Village Green?
I live in
correct?
Village Green. I've already talked to their board, and
Okay.
they were. We did go the 5K route, ran through Village Green last year, and they were very, very supportive of it. And when I talked to their board, they're excited that we're going to run even further through the neighborhood.
Okay.
So,
All right.
So I know that they're on board, and I do need to talk to Fox
Fox
Den
Den.
and just make sure that. They're as supportive of the event, but it does keep the traffic off of the runners off of Kingston Pike, which I feel like will less impact the traffic and give the runners a little prettier experience, going through the town.
I've got a question.
Yes.
I like the idea that the race is finishing on the south side of Kingston Pike, so we're not going to be tying up that Kingston Pike for very long. Last year, I think it was 3.5 hours that Kingston Pike was tied up. With the route that you now have from from Old Stage Road to Campbell Station, how long do you anticipate that's going to be tied up? If it's not going to be, I guess, till the last runner hits Old Stage Road.
Right. The runners
So-
will come out of Fox Den. So they'll come out of Fox Den and then have about, I believe it's less than a mile. It may just be a mile from the exit of Fox Den to Old Stage Road. If we start at 7:30, I would say that section of Kingston Pike would probably be impacted from, let's say, 8 to 9 a.m. And then the officers open the roads as soon as that last runner clears, and we use a sweep car to make sure that, all our runners are safe.
My point is, instead of 3.5 hours, it looks like you've reduced that to maybe an hour or
Oh,
so.
right. That would be reduced to an hour. The only other Kingston Pike crossing is when the race starts, they will have to cross Kingston Pike from the shopping center to
Right.
go into the high school. And then our 5Kers do have to cross that back. But the 5K time limit is 45 minutes. So that intersection would be impacted for 45 minutes from, 7:30 to 8:15 in the morning. And that would be completely open the rest of the day.
I compliment you on the changes. I think it's good. Very
According
good.
to the course description, they have the right-hand lane at Kingston Pike will be closed from Fox Den to Old Stage from 7:55 to 9 a.m.
Oh, it's in there. Okay, I missed that.
Just the right-hand lane.
Yeah.
So people, they stay in that lane and,
Yeah, it's one lane.
yeah.
Won't be totally shut down.
No.
Yeah. And we do use signage approved by the town at Old Stage for motorists to know 2 days in advance that the race is coming to sort of, make them a little more aware on Saturday morning.
I will also, very happy to see that we're working with the FBA to get some businesses involved with the after race party. I think that's such a wonderful idea.
Yeah, we've already talked with Steve, and we have some ideas to sort of, we're going to do a tailgate theme and hopefully bring some businesses on board and kind of have it a little party atmosphere
I
at the
really
end of the
think
race.
that's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no further questions.
No further.
No further.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is the approval of contract 2017-10, Strategic Planning Services.
Thank you, Mayor. The first strategic plan that we worked on as a town was back in 2010, and part of that plan accomplished was to give us our vision, our goals and objectives, and the work programs that we try to get accomplished each and every year to meet that vision. It was a 10 to 15-year vision and a 5-year goal-setting plan. Every year we get together and we go through that plan and we talk about what our goals are for the year to try to get those objectives and the vision accomplished. And we've been able to accomplish quite a bit of those over the last 7 years. And since that time, we've also had 3 new aldermen come on the board of mayor and aldermen as well. So this year, we went out for a request for qualifications for strategic planning services in order to update that plan, see if we needed to reshape it, rethink it, and look at our vision, mission, and goals again. The most responsive group was the Novak Consulting Group out of Cincinnati, Ohio. The scope of their work includes meeting with the board of mayor and aldermen, meeting with the senior management staff here as well. On 3 different occasions, they'll be coming back and forth with the town and doing different planning services for us. And the goal is, at the end of the day, to update our plan and get it ready to go for the next 10-year period of time. So with that, the total amount for the contract is a not-to-exceed amount of $19,800. And we will start that in June and be completed by October 2nd of this year. So if there's any questions for the board, I'll be glad to answer them, but I would recommend approval.
I'm going to move to approve the contract with Novak Consulting Group for strategic planning services not to exceed the amount of $19,800.
Second.
Discussion?
How long will how long is the process?
Well, it's from June until October. It'll be
that's what it says. Okay.
Right. It'll be a day or 2 here. It may take a few weeks to get back. It's scheduling issues. We'll have a community process as well that may take a little time in the middle of that. So because of all that, we wanted to give plenty of effort and time to get it all accomplished and done, and a final report given back to the board.
Okay.
Any more?
I don't have any other questions.
No more.
Will they run? They would run the community outreach
No, ma'am, they are not going to run the community outreach. That was part of their original proposal to us, and that cost was quite significant. And
Okay.
so I asked them to go back and help us, give us a framework to do it, but pretty much staff is going to run that ourselves.
Okay.
And we will also have, an online version to get public feedback as well.
Okay.
So we'll do a couple of different things to get some feedback.
Sounds good. I have no other questions.
I have no question.
No questions.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. And we move down to town administrators report.
Mayor, I know the mayor and I both will be heading out to ICSC convention, the Recon convention, beginning May 20th through the 25th, meeting with retailers and developers and trying to bring some of that business back here to Farragut. Also, this Friday night is the chamber auction. So tomorrow night, if anybody's watching at home, we're looking forward to that event for the chamber. Last Friday night was the FBA's Farragut Food and Wine Festival, and it was a soggy night, but a good event. We had a good time. I know Steve worked his tail off the entire time. We appreciate him doing that, and all the volunteers as well that support. I know Miss Pavlin was out there volunteering as well that day.
I would like to clarify, it was a soggy, muddy night.
Correct. Finally, I just wanted to say that I think the board's aware, but the public may not be, but the state legislative session ended yesterday. And, obviously during the legislative session, they passed many laws throughout the year, many that affect local government. But the biggest legislative impact that they had for us was the implementation of the Improve Act. And I think overall, we are still going to see, in most cities across the state, we'll see a reduction in their revenues over the next 4 or 5 years due to the hall tax going away. But certainly that money going toward our road improvements and our road fund will help us in that regard. And certainly we appreciate that effort that the legislature made to get that done for us this year. So with that, that's all I had to report tonight.
We are adjourned.